Well, one wonders why 777 partners want to be in it, but they're in it big time. Because in the last few moments, it's been announced the full takeover of Everton Football Club has now been completed. 777 partners, and we spoke about them the other day, and Simon suggested, we might need to look at them a bit more closely. But in any case, the Premier League obviously have, and it's a green light. 777 partners has signed an agreement with Farhad Moshiri to acquire his full stake in Everton Football Club, which accounts for 94.1% of the club's shares. So it would seem from this point onwards, the Moshiri era is over. Mr. Moshiri, a shareholder since 2016 and majority shareholder since 2018, says this morning: the nature of ownership and financing of top football clubs has changed immeasurably since I first invested in Everton over 7 years ago. The days of an owner stroke benefactor are seemingly out of reach for most, and the biggest clubs are now typically owned by well-resourced PE firms, specialist sports investors, or state-backed companies and funds. In other words, bigger boys than Farhad Moshiri, it would seem, are now in town. He says, I've been open about the need to bring in new investment and complete the financing for our iconic new stadium at Bramley Moor Dock on the banks of the Mersey, which I predominantly financed to date. I've spoken to a number of partners. However, it is through my lengthy discussions with 777 that I believe they are the best partners to take our club forward, with all the benefits of their multi-club investment model. So, Karl, this lot have appeared from nowhere. They're involved in other clubs that we know, one of them being Genoa over in Italy, and now they are very much on the scene. I mean, you have your ear to the ground, Karl, all the time. We here at talkSPORT have seen nothing but disgruntled Evertonians come to air and say, what is Moshiri doing? Albeit he spent over 700 million quid of his own money, but it's how he spent it. Everton, one would think, Everton fans, I would have thought to a large extent this morning, are relieved. But it might well be a case of, all right, be careful what you wish for. Yeah. But Everton as a club, you know, if the right people get their hands on this club, there's no telling what it could become.
Well, I'm going to train back to Liverpool after this, so I need to be careful what I say when I get back into town. Everton is a huge football club, and growing up in the city of Liverpool, it's almost, the two football clubs are massive and one of the sole drivers to everybody's happiness at weekends. This news today, and all the Everton fans who I know will be absolutely over the moon that he's out. I think it's slightly disrespectful in some ways when a person invests so much of his own personal wealth into a football club that he clearly does care. He does care for.
Oh, he spent a
You
fortune
can see
there.
that.
Yeah.
So you can't ridicule him and disrespect him and show a sense of despair for what he's done. I think he's done as much as he can. I do worry sometimes when these investors come in. We look at it, Man United and the trouble they're having with certain investors.
Yeah.
You don't know quite where they're going to get it right. I was in Liverpool the other week as well. I've seen a new stadium. I've seen where it's at. And it looks great, but we have to wait and see.
Yes.
Unfortunately for the Everton fans, what they will say, it's a week too late, because obviously out the transfer window, what can they do? If this would have been done a few weeks earlier, they might have been able to spend a little bit more money. It's strange that they've waited till the end of the window before the takeover gets done.
Yeah.
And now they're going to have to wait till January before they can do anything with the team.
Well, Martin, I'm coming your way in a second. Moshiri finishes this statement this morning, this takeover statement. If you've just switched on, Everton have been taken over. 777 partners have agreed the Everton takeover. Moshiri finishes with this morning. And to our fans, the last few years have been challenging, but you have supported the club through it and consistently been our 12th man. You're the best fans and you deserve success. Here in talkSPORT, we're about the only news outlet that ever get access to Moshiri on a semi-regular basis. But that changed in recent weeks and months, maybe understandably. Moshiri going today, but this is what he said when he joined me back in 2016 and explained why it was Everton for him.
It came under my radar during David Moyes' time. It's just, the passion of supporters and the fearless display of players when, playing the very big teams. It was a joy to watch. So I was following the club. And from distance, then I got to know Bill, and Bill Kenwright, educated me over the history, what the club is all about. And, it's just unique. For me, there was just one big club left in England to buy, and that's Everton. I fell in love with it.
So it's fair to say that Farhad Moshiri began his era in control of the club with very good intentions. Martin Keown, of course, yes, Arsenal invincible, but played for Everton as well. I must say at this point, Martin, I was one of the few to get to know Moshiri pretty well. And he was indeed so attached to the football club. He loved Everton as a club. I spent some time with him down here in London and at Goodison as well. And he had a massive affection for the club, but it just didn't work out. For whatever reason, in spite of the millions and millions he put in, it didn't work out. It didn't work out. And now he goes. You know this club, Martin. Is this the best thing, do you think, instinctively, that, a breath of fresh air comes in, new ownership at the top, and things might change?
Well, it became very toxic there. I mean, half the board are not able to actually visit the games because the fans don't want them there. So Moshiri was in no position but to go. And what he's tried to do was to make sure he handed it over to the very best possible successor, which looks as if this company is going to come in. We don't know yet too much about the ownership, but what we do know is they put plenty of money in. Moshiri himself was spent the best part of 700 million.
Yeah.
I think his intention was a good one, Jim. And I think that's what we're seeing at Chelsea at the moment. Money doesn't buy you success, because they've had a succession of managers. They brought top players in, and it hasn't worked. Actually, just at the transfer window, I think the guy Beto, the centre forward who's coming, Jim, is actually someone who might just rescue the club this season.
On the pitch,
might be a saviour for them, and it was maybe Moshiri's last signing that ultimately turns out to be maybe one of the best ones. But look, I know that the feeling from up there is very much against Moshiri. From afar, you might look at it and say, well, look, Christ, he's put all that money in. Should we really come after him? But I think he's doing the right thing now and stepping aside.
It looks that way, doesn't it, Carl? I mean, you could see behind the scenes, Barrett Baxendale gone from the board. Graeme Sharp, club legend, on the board for a spell, but it became even too hot for him as well. It became unsafe for these people to go to home games.
Yes, it did, from what we see from the outside. But I see all these owners now putting millions and millions of pounds in. They can't all win things. There's going to be a shortfall for the money that they spend. Now, 700 million is incredible for one man to put that into Everton Football Club. I'm not too sure whether he's going to come in and be able to match that. So certainly short term, the team's that much disarray at this moment in time. They are lucky, one, about the striker, and two, the manager. Because I do think they have the best manager they can possibly get to be where they are right now. And probably that bridge of where they're at with him will save Everton. I think I said this about 2 weeks ago. I didn't see Everton going down.
Yeah,
because
it's
of the manager.
Still going to be a difficult road for them, Everton.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to say. So at what stage and how long did he keep interest for, Martin? Because we're getting so many people from different parts of the world coming across to our Premier League. We have a go to Saudi Arabia about how much money is getting spent over there, but we're getting so many different owners coming in from different parts of the world and investing multi-millions of pounds in, and actually getting very little back sometimes.
Well, what it does show is that even a man with the wealth that Moshiri has got, it seems bigger boys need to come on the scene these days if they're going to acquire a club in the Premier League. It was interesting, Carl, because Simon just yesterday was sitting in that seat that Martin's sitting in this morning, and I put it to him, how would you sum up the Moshiri legacy at Everton?
I mean, if you look at when he comes in, they finish 7th, 8th and 8th. And then you start to see the decline. They drop into 12th and 10th, and then you start to see the real situation manifesting itself in around 21, 22, and 22, 23, where Everton are beginning to unwind on the pitch and off the pitch. Like everything else, out with the old. The king is dead. Long live the king. You have no idea what these people's motivations are. Everton is a brilliant football club.
It is.
It's a brilliant football club
with great fans.
With expectant fans.
Yeah, so
and
Moshiri's
regime will be looked at as a bit of a car crash for them.
A car crash. That's how Simon described it. Martin, the king is dead. Long live the king. That is how Simon phrased it there. The king being Farhad Moshiri, and now has exited stage left. And it's now a new era. So again, as I said at the top, it's a case of, in some ways, be careful what you wish for, because not much is known about 777 partners. But in they come nonetheless. It boils down to this. So many Evertonians who are very much opposed to Farhad Moshiri's ongoing reign at the football club, it would seem this morning, have got their own way. You've got what you wanted. As Moshiri goes, how do you feel? 03717 223344. As 777 partners come in and have taken over the football club, how do you feel about them? What do you know about them? 03717 223344. A good day or a bad day for Everton? You tell us.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.